Web 2 and Web 3. What it means for investors and businesses.
So great. So thanks for joining us. My name is Alex Nascimento. And we're here going to discuss the evolution of Web 2 to Web 3. I'll let the panelists introduce themselves. Piotr, please. Tell us a little bit about what you're working on.
Hello. Hello. Hello, nice to meet you. I'm Piotr Piasecki. I represent Revenue Community, decentralized organization which thrives startups and the notions to embed in Web3 space.
Fantastic. Thomas?
Hello, my name is Tomasz Korecki. I'm startup investor. I invest in different technology, Web3, blockchain startups.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tejinder Kumar. Everyone calls me TJ. I work with Finixio. We're one of the biggest digital marketing firm. Before that, my experience lies within traditional finance assets. Obviously, I work with eToro, BitPay, and traditional private equity firms, energy and commodity business as well.
Fantastic. So I'll start with a few questions. Piotr, I'll have a question for you. What do you think will be the future of Web3 and whether the transition to Web3 is imminent and happening right now?
If you are talking about Web3, this is a philosophical question because we are managing with I would say from my heart, it seems like we are talking about the human rights. So managing with this digital space and delivering our hash, we need to be aware that we are managing with our privacy, that we are managing with our entity, and we are managing with our financial freedom. So I'm not a prophet, and this is this is answer to entrepreneurs who are investing in the future and estimating what will be the future, what really the future will be. So, but in my opinion, as a human being, I think this is a very important and deeply philosophical question. What will be the way the world will develop? So, yeah, I hope the digital Web3 space is the future for the human. So this is necessity that we will disrupt this structure we are performing presently.
Interesting. Any comments, TJ?
Well, just to add a few points to that, obviously the last two panels, everyone explained Web3 very well, and before that it was a fantastic panel as well. Web3, it is the future of internet, obviously. It is changing already. The industry is evolving at a very fast pace. I would like to give one example that how I look at in a real world case scenario, the Web3 will change. For example, let's talk about travel. Let's talk about using passports. So at the moment, obviously, everyone got their passports, and every 10 years or so, the passport expires, or if you lose your passport, you're going to have to renew, reissue, or whatnot. Imagine just having to carry this, just a simple card which has a QR code on it. And when you go to the airport, they scan the QR code, and that is your passport online, on the blockchain, which never expires, which actually have all the details from the day it's issued up until now, and it shows all the visas and everything in it. So I totally believe not just it will help many industries, but even to the basic day-to-day of us doing things like going from UK to Brazil, I have to show my passport. I can just use that on blockchain address as a passport to travel.
Well, maybe I can add something also. So Web 1 was the situation that we were only reading. Web 2 is the situation when we read and we also write different things. And Web3 is the situation when we will be listening, we will be speaking with different, also artificial intelligence, and it will change everything.
Fantastic. And Tomasz, you mentioned you invest in the space of Web3. What interests you right now, and what are you looking as a way to find alpha in the space?
So maybe simply saying, let's think about the situation when we have our kind of digital avatar or assistant, and this assistant is booking a ticket for us. So I'm interested in every technology that brings us to this point, and we can, it's the technology of, is this true or false, for example, because of AI technology, there will be flooded with different text, different untrue statements, and so on. So it's so difficult for us to distinguish true or false. This is tools that we can talk or we can program our avatar, digital avatar. These are things or technology that help us transact with each other, share different tools, share services, and so on.
Very interesting, very interesting. TJ, you know, you were deep in the space, right? And also DeFi's and NFTs and how they intersect. So where do you see the potential for decentralized finance, or DeFi for those more familiar with the terms, and non-fungible tokens to disrupt traditional finance in the Web3 economy and create new channels of opportunities?
It's a very good question, Alex. So again, obviously, like I mentioned, Evan just touched upon this. NFTs, he's been buying like multi-million dollars worth of NFTs and whatnot. So going back to my traditional finance days, back when I was working as a stockbroker and private equity and stuff. So, and when it comes DeFi, obviously, I remember hearing the term DeFi for the very first time, and I couldn't understand what does that mean, even though decentralized finance is a really simple concept. Like, okay, it's decentralized, no one controls it. But back in the days when I heard it, I was like, how does it work? But okay, what do we do? But how does it work? And all that stuff. But once you understand it, like the whole ethos of blockchain is decentralization, is giving the power back to people. So DeFi is literally just giving back the power to the public. Now, in regards to creating revenue streams and additional income for, let's say, let's call it traditional finance brokers and stuff as well, it's really, really big. So NFT, let's take it an example. So we were covering this point last week in Canada. So how can you use NFTs to reward your clients or rewards your people and stuff? So let's say, for example, what's his name? Evan mentioned the point about Honda and Toyota. Let's say you buy a Honda car today, and with that car you get a 1 out of 1, like a very unique NFT as a token of appreciation of trusting their business. And every time they launch their results or what they made and stuff, you get percentage of that, the revenue that Toyota generates. So that way, you're not just creating the extra revenue, you're also creating the customer loyalty towards your brand, Honda in that case. And that also means retention. So you may have that client who buy a Honda today be with or keep on buying Hondas for next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And today, in today's day and age, obviously acquiring clients is not a big thing. It's about keeping that client and retaining that client and keep generating revenue from the same client. That is a big thing. And obviously with DeFi and NFT, that can really play a big part in managing the whole ecosystem there as well. That's it.
Yeah, I think I may add that this is the sharing economy. So thanks to sharing economy, we can share our services, our time, but also the place on our shirt, T-shirt, for example. So we don't need even companies today to work for the companies or to profit from our projects and so on. We can build the smart contracts. So there are many, on the blockchain space even, there are many smart contracts without any ownership, but somebody is taking care of this smart contract, somebody is profiting from this smart contract. So the way of NFT, IP and so on will evolve, and it will be interesting how we will behave and how we will work in the future.
And since I have your attention, Thomas, like, which of the businesses, maybe businesses that you see here in the event, that you think are going to be affected by these new technologies or will eventually die?
Well, for sure, different kind of intermediaries, middlemen, because decentralization and blockchain technology simply allow us to make transactions with each other. So real estate agents, even stock exchanges, they need to change in the future their operations. Different data warehouses and entities that take care of our privacy will need to change. Yeah, I think these two are good examples.
Just to add, sorry Alex, just to add what Peter actually said, it's a very good point. And like I said, obviously Web3 is happening, it is already here, and companies need to change. And we were talking actually yesterday at the speaker lounge, and somehow I love this story every time. So Nokia, everyone here obviously, or even ourselves, the first ever phone probably would have been Nokia 99% of the time. And I was listening to this speech of Nokia CEO, I think back in 2004 or 5, and it's literally, what he said was, we didn't do anything wrong, but somehow we lost. Because the whole market was taken over by Apple smartphones and everything. So Web3 is exactly the same, and every single industry, like obviously we talked about travel, we talked about supply chain management, we talked about traditional finance markets, the brokers, the stock houses, also your hospitality sector, your medical sector, everything needs to be changed. And they need to adjust, and they need to start making those changes. The first thing they need to do is to start learning about it, and then making sure they're ready, because if they don't, they're just going to get left behind.
Yeah, buying, selling, transacting, so the blockchain and Web3 will change the way we transact with each other. So yes, the old banking industry, brokerage houses, I think even all financial market will need to change also, but it is so obvious that.
I would say that we can observe an interaction between a few new technologies which can impact in the future for the human's life. This is artificial virtuality, artificial intelligence, blockchain, and I think the component and complex impact will in the future show what will be the result of this component. For sure, I agree with my colleagues that intermediaries are the first who should think how to start to deliver ownership, and especially ownership of the ideas of their activities through the Web3 system. But this needs also the change of the mind, because they are focused on profit making from Web2 activities, which are giving them the position of ownership of our data, of our privacy, of our freedom. So those who are using these tools to impact on our lives will be they will be the first who will marginalize themselves. Yeah, banks are the first.
Banks are first. And what about governments? How do you see governments can react to this Web3 revolution?
Can I start?
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll go? I'll go? Okay. Obviously, we briefly touched upon this already, like governments, and I'm going to take regulators in the same context. They obviously need to understand and realize Web3, it is happening, it's going to happen. There's nothing denying that fact. And what we're seeing at the moment with the governments and regulators is they are just trying to make sure that their main focus is just protecting the consumer. But I believe what they need is finding the balance between innovation and consumer protection. They need to start with, first of all, learning Web3. Because I've dealt with a lot of regulators in the past from my previous experience, whether it's UK, Europe, Australia, even US and Canada to an extent. And what I realized, they are still struggling to figure out how staking works. And we are already at Web3, so they need to educate themselves first. They need to understand how the whole technology works. And if they don't have the education available to them, like speak to the industry experts, like you guys, speak to them, pick your brains up, how it works, what to do, and then make it somehow, or find a balance between that we are still pushing innovation, and at the same time we are still protecting the consumer itself, because we need to have the balance there as well.
Very interesting. Thomas?
The question is what is the reason for the regulation? In my opinion, regulations are good, but the first main regulation, which I can see, is to secure free market possibilities for any entrepreneur on the market. And as I see the role of government, is to secure this right. And from the Web3 perspective, to secure the consumer right is to be secured yourself. Regulations are good if they are protecting free market rules. So the regulations which exclude entrepreneurs and people who are scammers, cheaters, doing any kind of disruptive impact on market. How does it work at the moment? It's something different. As I'm reading MiCA regulations from 7 days before, new rules for crypto assets managing companies in the European Union zone. This completely different. It will impact on new ideas and notions to thrive in very disruptive way for any young creators and entrepreneurs. So it seems like those governments who are going to keep the present system by keeping custody and foster about people who are consumers will in the future marginalize themselves. And there is a chance for small countries, non-regulated in this way, like US or European Union means.
Thomas?
Yes, I think we need to know that blockchain is a beautiful technology also for our governments, because they can issue, let's say, programmable tokens or programmable fiats, and they can control how we spend this money. So the question is, will we let them to do this? And also, not only countries, but also corporations, big corporations. There are a few corporations now that are involved in artificial intelligence development. So, and it's a really huge technology that will change our lives. So should it be decentralized artificial intelligence or centralized? And the question is, should we let to do this?
Very interesting. As we get to the end of our panel here, I have one question which I find it very interesting for the three of you. What are the things that you're seeing now that are actionable Web3 plays or actionable Web3 companies? And where do you see that we're going to be with Web3 in 6-12 months? Because there's a lot of discussions that we're not in Web3 yet. We're like in Web 2.5.
I think, just to add, I believe we are already there. Like, I'm just going to use an example here. So, like, pretty much all of us got iPhones, Apples, right? I'm sure even from the audience. They're probably on their iPhones at the moment, just flipping through. Look at the Apple ecosystem at the moment. They got Apple Wallet, they got Apple Music, they got Apple News, they got Apple, what else they got? App Store. Pretty much the whole thing is covered at the moment. And even in the US, they even got their Apple debit card and whatnot. They recently launched their VR headset. So everything is linked. The whole ecosystem is linked with our email addresses. Now imagine on the back end side if Apple decided to just turn that into like literally a few binary codes, 101010, or a blockchain address. So now you are transacting everything on the chain basically. And what I looked at earlier was around about 170 million wallets on the planet at the moment. And whereas there's about 1.2 billion people using Apple products. So if Apple wants tomorrow to fully go to Web3 and just make it like everyone is using Web3 or they are interacting Web3 without even realizing that they're on Web3 or they're on chain, they can do that. So I believe like we are almost there. Now, yes, there's going to be challenges. There's going to be updates, upgrades that's coming. So the question, obviously, what Alex, you asked was what we see in 6 to 12 months. Industry is growing at a very fast pace. Now, predicting that's like a $10 million question. If I know where we're going to be, I would put my money into it now. I'll sell my house and well, all right, I'm putting it right there.
And tell me.
It's a time capsule. We're just going to have to wait and see. But the future is promising. I can tell you that the future is promising.
Very good. Thomas?
I think the transition is a long way. It's from Web 1 to Web 2, it was about 10 years. So it's the process. It needs to take many years. But well, for sure, there will be a lot of digital assets, and the process of tokenization of almost everything. The process of tokenization is also connected with the process of sharing different things. So I can imagine that there will be systems that we can share a hammer, a boat, a car, and automatic car, and so on. And there will be a lot of projects in a few months connected with the sharing economy.
Very cool. Piotr?
We are talking about transition.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, I think this complex three basic new technologies will impact on the future. But we have we have a few hurdles, some obstacles, which will impact that the process will continue in the next years. The first is present sentiment. It is stopping us at the moment, and nobody knows how long it will be, because we know that technology will expand when the sentiment will increase to be green. The second thing is some interoperational technology obstacles between chains, and this interoperability we can also help in this transition, and it will take time, and it will take the money, of course, and regulations. Bad regulation will stop the development and will stop the transition in time. As we mentioned, it seems that it will take time, but it is we see this positive perspective for this technology, but it will also be a hurdle to make this transition faster. Yeah.
Interesting. Very good. Well, thank you very much for your time. It was a pleasure to meet you. And we're at the end of our panel here.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Everyone.
Thanks.